Well, hello. I'm Matt Williamson. How's everyone doing today? I hope as well as I am. The two things I want to talk about: wide receiver trades / Deontay going to the Ravens, and Broderick Jones. You know, we have tomorrow's going to be a mailbag. A lot of you guys already started sending questions, but these are two things I want to talk about. Deontay Johnson gets traded from Carolina to the Ratbirds for what at most will be like a 15-pick swap. I mean, end of round 5 for beginning of, end of round 5 to beginning of round 6. And there are comp picks in between there. I understand that. But it could really be 32-1 in terms. I mean, I think the Panthers are going to have the first pick in the draft. And Carolina's picking up the bulk of his salary. What on earth is going on? Why did the Steelers make this move? Why didn't everyone make this move? Now, I will tell you, first off, I'm a little confused by it too. Deontay is an extremely hard worker off the field and all that stuff. At least he was here. I have not watched his Carolina practices. But I also think there was some thoughts in the building that he was a malcontent. He wasn't a great effort player on game day. He wasn't happy with the Matt Canada situation. And the Steelers wanted him out. That was a while ago. But I doubt that's the case. I mean, if you were picking up a lot of cap space so you could roll over, I would understand it. But he had to go. But I mean, it's such a low cost is my confusion here. And I don't think he is addition by subtraction of getting him out of the building, and now things are going to be rosy in Carolina. Now, I do think that there's a chance that Carolina is just the worst organization in the league, and frankly, they might not know what they're doing. I think that is quite possible, and if that's the case, maybe you should call them for other players. You know, everybody should be calling them if this is the type of cost. But I really don't understand not getting more than that. There had to be the Chargers, the Bucks, now Houston with the Stephon Diggs deal that could have given you more than that. And I just don't understand it. I must be wrong that there wasn't enough offers. But why did the Steelers do it? Well, I don't think I've told you this before, and I didn't know this until a couple months ago. It's illegal for the Steelers to trade for him. You can't trade a player and then within a calendar year, I think it is, trade back for him. Because there could be some weird collusion trading guys back and forth, you know, and you're not going to get someone to buffer him for you. Like, trade him to Tampa for a day and then we'll trade him. And the league would frown upon that. So the Steelers could not be in the Deontay market because, trust me, I would give you a 10-pick swap to get him back. That would be wonderful. But I don't understand why other teams weren't, frankly, willing to give more. I thought they'd get a 6 or a 5 straight up or a 5 next year or something like that. But these available receivers are drying up pretty quick. First off, I want to talk about the Ravens a little bit. I don't think they needed him. They do not play a lot of 11 personnel. They have a lot of fullbacks, tight ends on the field. But I think he's better than Bateman, who's been a good player. I think they've asked too much of Zay Flowers. So one more receiver in that room on a team that's trying to win the whole thing makes all the sense in the world for them. I don't think it's their biggest problem. I think the Ravens' biggest problem is pass defense. And I still think they could get an edge rusher or a corner. They could get Jadeveon Clowney maybe back from Carolina. And I know this isn't a Ravens podcast, but they're the direct competitor here. And a former Steeler just went there and a position that the Steelers are after. So I would be shocked if the Ravens are done. I didn't think this would be his landing spot, but they were sort of rumored in the Devontae Adams situation. And another receiver does make sense. But what's that leave the Steelers? Not a lot. I mean, here's the names I have left. I mean, Christian Kirk is out for the year. I like Jacoby Myers, quite a bit with the Raiders. He could be a slot. He could be outside. He would be a clear upgrade over the other receivers. That would be a name, but they already traded Adams. Would they trade 2 receivers? I bet in the end the answer is yes, and I don't think he'd be super difficult. Slayton would probably be my favorite option from the Giants, who is just here, and kind of carved the Steelers up and always seems to do well when he's on the field. But for some reason, the Giants never keep him on the field, and he would be cheap. I've heard Tyler Boyd's name. I think you could get him for next to nothing, and I respect his game with the toughness and the blocking and a pure slot, and he's from around here, which is cool. This doesn't move the needle much for me, to be very honest with you. So things are drying up. Now, if I dig deep, and I don't think, I'm kind of going down fantasy land here. But right now, the Dolphins, Jets, Bengals, and Saints all have 2 wins. And the trade deadline, by the way, is Tuesday. So these teams have a lot of teams have another day or another week to figure out, are they buyers or sellers? And before I get to those teams, one other one is Brandon Cooks. If Dallas loses this week, I've kind of been told they might be a seller. And I think you could get him super cheap. Now, the Bengals aren't going to do business with you. Maybe they trade Higgins somewhere else or Hendrickson somewhere else after a loss. Would the Dolphins trade Tyreek or Waddle? I tend to think no. Would the Saints trade Olave? I tend to think no, but they have massive cap implications. And we're talking about big deals, like maybe a first-round pick for Olave or Wilson for sure. And with the Jets. How about Devontae Adams? I know that sounds goofy, but if they bought the new car for $100, could you get Devontae Adams now for $80 that he's been driven off the lot? Maybe. I mean, it's a disaster there. I mean, I'm not trying to start rumors or get you excited, but I definitely think the Steelers are in the wide receiver market, and I just don't know who the names are. And the Jets have lost, 5 in a row and have 2 wins. And if they lose again, what good does it do to keep Devontae Adams for the rest of the year? So that's just my 2 cents on the receiver situation. I do think something will get done. Roman Wilson getting hurt might even make that a little more believable. But I'm running out of options for you. And Deontay, unfortunately, wasn't one of them. It would have been nice if you could, but you can't. This episode is brought to you by BetOnline, the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. From the NFL to college, BetOnline is every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. When the game's over, head on over to the online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker or unwind with one of over 150 slot games. Head to the website today and use promo code BELIEVE, all caps, BLEAV, and get in on the action. BetOnline, the game starts here. Broderick Jones is a problem. He is very, very talented. He's powerful. He's big. He has good movement skills. He was warranted to be a first-round pick. But he was more underdeveloped coming out of Georgia than I think most Steeler fans understood. I mean, he didn't start many games there. There were a lot of games that they were beating people by 100, and he just sat out the fourth quarter. And his run blocking was great, but his protection was a mess. And it got better and better, I thought, though, during his rookie season. I'm sure there's something to flopping him between left and right, blah, blah, blah. And I guess that's sort of water under the bridge. Maybe it was a coaching error, or organizational error. But we've seen this offensive line coach, Pat Meyer, who I think's good, develop a lot of talent. Look what he got out of McCollum. Everyone but Broderick has developed well. So is it it's not you, it's me situation? It sure looks like it, because it looks like Jones isn't doing the work. It doesn't look like he has much attention to detail from an outsider's perspective. And he certainly doesn't seem to be getting better. And there's a lot of mental errors. And sometimes he doesn't seem to know who to block or snap count. So what do? Well, I don't think Spencer Anderson's a tackle. I mean, he played 1 snap and got abused, but that's not why I say that. I think he's an interior player. But Dylan Cook's coming back now, or at least his window's opening. And this is the beauty of Tomlin to me, is I wonder if you could light a fire under Jones by praising Cook, or kind of when no one's looking, giving Cook, starter reps at right tackle, or whatever button you have to push to get Jones going. Could Cook help you do it? Or if you're halfway through the Washington game and Jones is still screwing up left and right, do you just pull him? And maybe that's the fire he needs. But I don't know the person, Jones I'm talking about, but I do know the coach, Tomlin. And I wonder if this could be a stick or carrot to kind of hopefully get him back, or at least a true tackle. Not that Dylan Cook is great. That could be a umbrella for you if you just can't live with him anymore. And here's a kind of an outlandish one, but we just watched the Giants, and they're so bad at tackle that they grabbed Chris Hubbard off the Niners practice squad like a week ago, threw him in at left tackle, even though he's not a left tackle, instead of putting former high first-round pick Evan Neal out of Alabama in the game at all. Neal's only a right, but you could get him for nothing. And I kind of have an affinity for talented player that everybody liked coming out of college, that no one batted an eye when he went 6th or 7th overall, that has fallen on his face with a terrible organization, and just give him a new lease on life. Could you trade a 6th-round pick for Slayton and Neal? Again, I'm just totally spitballing here. And you could get him for nothing, but there's talent there. He's had all sorts of problems, not on or off the field, he's considered a very smart guy and not a bad person at all. But tackles don't grow on trees, and you rarely see them traded. And if you could pick up a talented one that has pedigree, as Tomlin likes to say, and just get him in a new building that costs you nothing, I think that's kind of interesting. So, I don't know. I'd be on the phone with the Giants. You just scouted them to no end, and you know them pretty well. Slayton and maybe Neal, to me, would be attractive. Is there somebody else you could pry away from the Panthers? J.C. Horn? I'm just spitballing here, but I do think that as cheap as a lot of these trades have gone the last couple days, couple weeks, it seems like a buyer's market, I guess, is the bottom line of this podcast. Is I would be active, maybe even a direction I'm not thinking of, a defensive tackle or a corner, or one that's not even a huge position of need that be nice to have. You know what I mean? So, all right, that's what I got for today. Tomorrow we'll mailbag it up. I got a lot of general mid-season thoughts to talk about too before we start looking into Washington and next week and all that stuff too. All right, take care.